no better way to celebrate a walk-off victory than the way the Lakeland players did this past week, by dancing, celebrating their dramatic comeback win, walk-off fashion in extra innings to beat Somers, and that is a theme today here on Around the Diamond, your Metro Edition, your MSG Varsity Tri-State Baseball show, talking Hudson Valley, Connecticut, and New York City baseball. And it is a walk-off special in a lot of ways. So many walk-off wins, and we're going to bring in Mr. Walk-Off, the guy, the reporter for MSGVarsity.com, Jordan Griffith, who has been at a string of these games. We're going to talk about so much more on today's show. We're going to meet one of the most consistent, maybe the most productive hitter in the Tri-State, or really in the Hudson Valley, in Rise Tim DeGraw. We're going to profile him. We're going to talk some Connecticut baseball as the FC Act kind of sorts things out and give you a little glimpse into the way things are shaping up in the Catholic League. So let's go first with MSG Varsity reporter Jordan Griffith. Now, Jordan, it's got to feel like no matter what game you go to at this point, you're going to see something special with your string of dramatic walk-off wins.
Absolutely. I've seen 3 straight walk-offs. All 3 have been in extra innings. 2 on home runs, 1 on a squeeze play with the bases loaded. Got a little magic right now, Kev. I can't lie.
Yeah, you joke. You text us, kind of late in games, say Jordan Magic, and we always know. Go on Twitter. I'm sure whatever he's at it's one of the best games of this season. And you've seen him in baseball. You've seen him in lacrosse. This goes back to football season, basketball season. What is it?
I don't know. I must be eating right or something. But yeah, if you're the away team at the game I'm at, hope for rain because the walk-off is always happening.
The walk-off seems to happen dramatically. Let's first game you were not at, and that was RC Ketchum. And RC Ketchum, they hit one real roadblock in the regular season. They've been ranked in the Tri-State all season long. They lose to Arlington, their rival, and they've come back with 5 straight wins, and now they take on John Jay's Fishkill. They're down to John Jay's Fishkill, John Jay's squad that's struggling, but then Tim Zenbauer comes through with a big hit. And here it is. I'm sorry, Jordan. Here comes Tim Zenbauer's hit. He rips a 2-out, 2-run single in the bottom of the 7th for a 6-5 win over John Jay's Fishkill. And does it seem like Ketchum's just a team that just isn't going to lose at this point?
I think so. They're very, very deep. I think for the regular season, they have a lot of confidence right now. As you said, the Arlington loss, I think, was very good for them. It kind of gave them that wake-up call. You're undefeated at that point. You really just you need to lose a game and see that you're not unbeatable. But Zenbauer has been great. As you said, he had the 2 RBI walk-off hit in that game. He's also been great on the mound. 1.6 ERA this year, and this is a really, really deep team. The pitching-wise, they have 4 other guys that can really go. Cody Levy, Dylan Deanna, Gregory Blum, and Tyler Sinelli, and then guys like Jordan Bishop, Jacob Morgensen at the plate. I mean, this is a complete team. They have 7, 8, 9 hitters that can get it done. They're really just waiting for the playoffs and waiting to make this big run here.
And we spoke to Tim Zenbauer about his walk-off win after that game.
I was excited. I wanted to hit. What was going through my mind? Get me up there. I mean, I had confidence in my teammates. I knew that they would do the job too if they got the opportunity, and it just came down to the matter of which one of us was going to get the hit.
And those were Zenbauer's 9th and 10th RBI of the season. Some pretty big ones. Jacob Morgenstern, you mentioned him, a football player as well. Maybe more of known for being a football player. I think his future might be in baseball. .431 batting average, 13 RBIs, 14 walks. Says a lot about the leadoff man to get on base as much as he does. So very good win for Ketchum. They keep things rolling, and we're going to see where they shake out in the Tri-State Top 20 poll. We'll reveal that later in the show. Now we move on to, again, you had the same seat for 2 of maybe the most dramatic games of the season, starting with Lakeland. Now, Lakeland was a team, again, another team that started the season really hot, hit some bumps along the way, and then they go and they host Somers in a back-to-back game. The first of 2 games they played Somers. And did you get a sense early on that these 2 teams were so evenly matched, a couple of Class A powers?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this game was just really a lot of fun. You kind of had the feel before the game that this was going to be a special one. There was a prom proposal before the game. But really, these 2 teams have had some history. Somers actually had a huge streak. They had beat Lakeland every year since 2007, and really you could hear the kids talking about the game. Forget the streak, forget the curse, we're going to beat them. And this game was spectacular. Anthony Fava, the game-winning home run, it was a bomb. He actually hadn't really had the best game up until that point, and he even said, I didn't really get all of it, and I think he got enough of it. But this team is special. Christy DiMizio has been awesome this year. He has a really, really filthy curve, really had it going. And I think it was just one of those games where Lakeland felt like they had it in their hands, and then they carried it on and actually beat Somers again the next day. So a really, really a special week for the Hornets.
And there we see Fava's home run to straightaway center field, not too far from you, almost, a couple trees down from there at Lakeland. And we saw the dramatic celebration that he had jumping into home plate, and tremendous win. And we spoke to Fava afterwards.
Feels pretty good. I mean, it always feels good to win a game, but in that bat, I was just looking for a fastball to square up and do me right down the middle. I mean, I didn't hit it square, but I guess I got enough of it to put it out and win the game.
So right there, we saw about a 360, 370 foot end to a game, and then we saw maybe one of the shortest balls hit to end the game, and that being when Nurishal took on Mamaroneck. Now, you and I were both there yesterday, and didn't you get the sense from the first pitch of this game that this was a very, not a playoff game, this had like a championship feel, even though it was for a league title, and league titles, again, I don't know if they're maybe someone like me who's been around a long time, not a huge deal, but to these kids, that game felt like everything.
Absolutely, especially for a team like Mamaroneck, who hadn't won a solo league title since 2003. They had to share it last year with White Plains in a game that they felt like they probably should have taken care of business of and got it done.
Yeah.
But as you said, from the opening pitch, both guys were just lights out. JoJo Gray, what pitched the best game of his career, without a doubt, 11 strikeouts. And the Huguenots really just kind of played small ball the entire game. They got a sacrifice fly to score Lou Maselli, and then Mamaroneck came storming back. Tom Muratora was great, 12 strikeouts in this game. You'll see some of the curveballs he threw were just filthy. And then they ended up tying it in the 7th. Then, as you said, a squeeze play. Mike Schwab with just a bomb to right center.
Yeah.
Triple to get it going, and a squeeze play at home doesn't get any better than that.
Jared Almonte. Now, when we were interviewing Coach Pete Nunziata after the game, we talked about, because Schwab hit a one-out triple, so if runner third, nobody on first or second, they intentionally walked the next two guys. And so I said, hey, the strategy didn't work out. But then it really worked out for Nurishal when Nunziata said about, it was great, we put the bases loaded up for our best bunter, and he knew the whole time he was going to do it.
Yeah, I really like Almonte. He's kind of one of those fun guys. He's always talking in the outfield. He's one of those guys you can always hear no matter what's going on. And you could see he walked up to the plate and he had confidence. He didn't know when he was going to bunt, but he knew when he came up, he was going to drop it, and there was, without a doubt, Schwab timed the execution just perfectly. Mamaroneck really didn't have a chance, and then the celebration was just awesome. It was just probably one of the better high school games you'll ever see, especially during the regular season.
Yeah, it was an intense game, hour and a half long, which also made it kind of nice for us on a beautiful day out at City Park in Nurishal. Afterwards, we caught up with Nurishal as they celebrated their win. When you looked down at third base before the first pitch came in, were you saying, am I going to bunt here at some point?
I was definitely thinking about it. I mean, me and Coach A kind of have similar minds sometimes, and you got to expect it against Memo.
And when you get the signal, I mean, you see him, whatever the signal is, you don't give it away, but when you get the signal, what's kind of, how do you get the feeling in your stomach?
Not at all. I mean, I've done it plenty of times before, actually. So.
And if you watch those highlights, it's funny because there's one out. So as soon as Almonte bunted it, he bolted up the first base line. He didn't go all the way to first base. And Lou Maselli, who was going to second, didn't go to second. They could have doubled them up there and ended the game that way. But Maselli went over, touched second, and once all the bases were touched up, that ended the game. So Nurishal comes away with a 2-1 win over Mamaroneck, as you said, first league title in 11 years. And Nurishal seems like they're kind of storming into the postseason. They have Fox Lane on Wednesday, Ossining on Saturday. And speaking of Fox Lane, I know Fox Lane has traditionally been one of the best hitting teams. And the identity this year, it's really changed, and they might be maybe one of the top 2 or 3 pitching teams now in Class AA in Section 1.
Absolutely, you got to give it to Matt Hillis, able to really make that transition well. Going from a team that really just kind of dominated teams at the plate to now just a team that just really owns the mound. Andrew Workman is as good as they get, 1.63 ERA, 31 strikeouts on the year. Henry Jacobs is the second guy, 24 strikeouts, has only given up 9 hits on the season. And then guys like Alec Brown and Aaron Winkler, Nick Nemeth, they get it done, in those secondary roles. And like you said, they probably have the deepest rotation in the section. And it's interesting to see how they can put it together and then rally with some of those runs when they need them to get things going.
And Workman, as you saw at the top of these highlights, they had scouts there from Lafayette, Bucknell, Columbia, Western Connecticut there to watch him pitch. They had radar guns this game. And really, the scouts got treated to a very good, clean, well-pitched game, good defensive game. And, this is against Byram Hills on Monday, and Anthony Russo pitched great. Kenny Hayden with the diving catch there in the outfield to preserve the 2-1 win for Fox Lane over Byram Hills. But Anthony Russo, 3 strikeouts, 3 hits, and 6 innings pitched. He might have actually outpitched Workman for the most part, but Workman, though, he worked his way out of jams, and he did it very effectively, give up 7 hits, but when he needed to, he got the plays in the fields. A couple of plays, runners from Byram Hills thrown out at home plate. So a tough loss for Byram Hills. They're going to play again this week, but a 2-1 win for Fox Lane, and just a great job. We spoke to the star, the pitcher, Andrew Workman, after the game about his effort.
Kind of just try and tune those things out. I mean, trying to get tunnel vision right down to the plate to your catcher, see what's going, and it's actually you get a groove when you start throwing well, and it's easier.
So Jordan Griffith, thanks for joining us on the baseball segment here on Around the Diamond. You have some lacrosse games on Thursday and Saturday. We should expect overtime and some amazing. We just lost Jordan there at the last second. So Jordan Griffith's going to be out of some lacrosse games later in the week. A couple of live casts. Check out MSGVarsity.com. I think New Canaan this coming week, and I think Fairfield Prep on Saturday. So Jordan Griffith, great job, and shooting those highlights and reporting on high school baseball around the Hudson Valley. So we're going to check in with Jordan next week as we getting going for the postseason in Section 1 and Section 9 baseball. We move on now. I talked about Tim DeGraw, and you probably, if you're a sports fan in the Hudson Valley, you really know Tim DeGraw as the football player. He was, 5'9" wide receiver at Rye, and he put up staggering numbers this year. He's really a baseball player, and we caught up with him this past week as he explained himself and how baseball is really his future.
A man is open with room. Tim DeGraw over midfield into open space.
Tim DeGraw set the Section 1 football record for receiving yards in a season last year at Rye, hauling in 1,051 to go along with 9 touchdowns. The breakout junior campaign helped launch DeGraw among the biggest names in the Hudson Valley. But if that's the only way you know DeGraw, then you really don't know him at all. Because the future for DeGraw is catching fly balls, not spirals.
I've always considered myself a baseball player at heart. Football is definitely more popular around here, so the publicity with it is definitely different, but I've always considered myself a baseball player at heart.
Rye's star leadoff man has cemented himself this spring as arguably the most productive hitter in the Hudson Valley. The numbers he put up in football may actually be secondary to what he's done at the plate in this, his 3rd varsity season. DeGraw is sporting a staggering .583 batting average in 58 plate appearances, to go along with 21 runs scored and 23 stolen bases for a Rye team that's quietly 12-3.
Timmy's special. He's a special player. Hit over 400, I think 440 his freshman year. So he's definitely been one of the unique freshmen to come along here.
Got to be with him every day to see the kind of plays he makes off the field in practice. He's hands down the most gifted athlete I've ever seen.
He just gets it. He plays so much baseball, works so hard, and leadoff. He's been leadoff since his freshman year. So I think he's just mature.
DeGraw hasn't seen nearly as much college interest in football or basketball, but that still has not deterred him from continuing to play multiple sports in high school, which is now rare in this age of specialization.
How many people think that they're experts and they say you shouldn't play football your senior year, just focus on baseball?
I've actually only heard that once, but I looked over it immediately. I take football as a fun experience. It's high school sports. You gotta try them all.
He really enjoys playing all 3 sports. He gets tired of playing the same sport year-round. He just couldn't do it. He really likes the change of the seasons and to do something different.
The options for DeGraw at the next level are unfolding every day. His plan is to make a decision this summer, but he has offers from just about every Ivy League school, as well as interest from the elite academic Division I programs. Among them is Stanford, which, if he attended, will mean he's following in the footsteps of his father Eric, who played for the Cardinal when they won the College World Series in 1987 and 1988.
I went there, my wife went there, and my son's there, and Tim doesn't want to go there. I said, if that happens, we'll have a talk. We'll definitely be talking if that comes to fruition.
I'd like to say I'm different than them, but I could also see myself there. I mean, it's a great school.
I think his ceiling is, the sky's the limit for him because he's only going to get better. He's only going to get faster. He's only going to get stronger.
1, 2, 3, right! Reporting from Rye, New York for MSG Varsity, I'm Kevin Devaney Jr.
Great kid, great family. He was fun to catch up with this week, and great mind for a baseball player. Made all section as a freshman, and he might be the fastest player in Section 1 baseball. Any ball on the ground, he's going to beat it out, and he beats it out pretty easily. And, one thing that people talk about with the new bats, last couple of years, bats really changed, the BB Core bats, and it didn't really affect him at all. He's such a good contact hitter, gets the barrel of the bat on the ball, that, while averages, I think, across the board in high school baseball, especially at the end of lineouts went down, his really stayed the same. So, special type of hitter and definitely a college-bound baseball player, although many people think 1,051 yards, Section 1 record receiving, his future could be in football too, but baseball is where he's going to be at the next level. We switch gears now, head over to Connecticut, and a big matchup in the FCIAC last week as the top 2 teams, New Canaan had kind of slipped down the standings, and you had really Staples and Darien fighting it out for that #1 spot. Who the best team in the FCIAC was, we found out when they met last Friday. And Staples went out there and knocked off Darien 9-5. As we said, the top 2 teams in the FCIAC, Nick Panzer, sliding catch in center field. Watch the slow it down catch there. The controlled catch by the center fielder from Staples. Later on, Nick Vega, a grounder, beats it out at first base and scored a run. Rutgers took a 1-0 lead, and we saw Panzer do it in the field, and now we're going to see him do it at the plate, lining the ball through off the pitcher into the outfield. You couldn't see it hit the pitcher, but it goes into the outfield. 2 runs go on to score. Staples wins this one 9-5, knocking off Darien. So Staples carried that momentum into Monday, knocked off St. Joe's, the defending state champions in Class M. So Staples really cruising along here. They close the season out with Bridgeport Central and Norwalk this week, and then they're going to head and get ready for the FCIAC tournament. A team that's kind of on their heels, another team that's kind of moving their way up the rankings, was Fairfield Ward. They had their matchup on Monday against Fairfield Ludlow at the ballpark at Harbor Yard, the gorgeous stadium up in Bridgeport. Always a treat to play there. They played this championship game there as well. And Ludlow got ahead 2-0, but Ward exploded for 6 runs in the 4th inning. Giacomo Brancato, a 2-run shot into the gap. Mike Foley had an RBI in this game. Ward ran away with a 7-5 win. And wins are hard to come by in the FCIAC these days. No easy games in the schedule. Through Tuesday's matchups, through Tuesday's results, Staples, the number 1 seed, Fairfield Ward moved into the number 2 spot. Then you have Darien, West Hill, St. Joe's, Trumbull, Ridgefield, New Canaan, rounding out the top 8. That is a loaded bracket. If you're Staples, you're the number 1 seed. You want to face New Canaan in the first round. And then you have to look at the fact that Greenwich, which has played just about every team tough, 1-run losses all season long. Ludlow and Wilton are on the outside looking in. Going to be a very good race down to the finish here for the FCIAC playoffs. And again, I mentioned about Ridgefield, how I like Ridgefield. I think they're the most dangerous team as we head down the stretch, even though they haven't played consistent great baseball all season long. So we're nearing the playoffs in Section 1. We're nearing the playoffs in the FCIAC. And we're also on the doorstep of the postseason in the Catholic League. And Kennedy Catholic was in Section 1 the last, 40 years until they left after last school year. A lot was made about it. How are they going to compete in the Catholic League? People on the inside of the Catholic League said, I think, some of the coaches I spoke to said they're going to compete right away. And I was a little surprised by that. And we're seeing it now. After some early season struggles, they're dominating, and they're sitting atop the Catholic League standings thanks to this win. And you see, they took on Salesian last week. They knocked off Salesian 10-0 and got a fantastic start from, you saw right there, Dennis Berardi. He's headed to Manhattan. 6 innings, solid baseball, only 2 strikeouts, only allowed 1 runner past second base. Right there, Jason Agresti. He had 2 hits, 4 RBI in the game, including that double. Gavin Garay, 2 hits and an RBI. Kennedy Catholic is on a surge right now. A 10-0 win, knocked off Salesian in the 2 games they faced them. Salesian was the number 1 team in the Catholic League until they met Kennedy. Kennedy's bats woke up. 22-1 combined in the 2 wins over Salesian. Salesian, the Eagles, they've just struggled of late. And now Kennedy sits atop the Catholic League standings for Westchester Hudson Valley with a 13-4 record. Fordham Prep right behind. Iona Prep actually beat Kennedy this past week. So it's going to be a great race to the finish here in the Catholic League. And Kennedy Catholic, I think, you might have to say they had the inside track because I think their depth of their lineup is pretty good. Their pitching is solid across the board, and it's going to be tough to run through that gauntlet that is the Catholic League in this part of the state. But Kennedy is the team I think the most equipped to do that. Now we go to the private school ranks, and one of the crazier games of the past, a couple weeks, was Poly Prep. Now, Poly Prep has been sitting in single digits, really a top 10 team all season long in our MSG Varsity Tri-State poll. They took on Bishop Carroll last week out at Coney Island, and Poly Prep Morgan Gray came back in this game, the lefty on the mound, after missing 4 weeks of the back injury, cruised through the first 5 innings, and then in the 6th with a 3-0 lead, back-to-back doubles for Bishop Carroll, and they cut into the deficit. You had a steal of home here to cut into the deficit at the top of the 7th. There was a 4-1 lead, now it was a 4-3 lead. Foul ball down the line, just foul, could have won the game, and instead the freshman, and that being Nick Storrs, gets the final out, gets the strikeout to preserve the win. A 4-3 win for Poly Prep over Berkeley Carroll, and these 2 powerhouse programs probably going to meet again when it comes down time to deciding a private school championship. So that is how things are going so far in the private school ranks. We want to talk baseball, not just on this show, but on MSGVarsity.com. So be sure to check out my baseball chat. We're going to have it talking some Section 1 and Section 9 baseball, Hudson Valley baseball, Catholic school baseball. If you have some Connecticut questions, log on to MSGVarsity.com. Thursday night, 8 o'clock, I'm going to be talking baseball. I'll stay on for a half hour, an hour, 3 hours, whatever you like. Be sure to log on to MSGVarsity.com for our live chat on high school baseball. And now on to the ever-evolving, ever-changing, the revolving door that is our Tri-State MSG Varsity Baseball poll. When we set out before the season started, we knew there would be a lot of changes because of the way baseball goes, and this week we saw a lot more changes. We have 20 teams on our poll, and only 2 are in the same spot that they were in last week. You could probably guess who at least one of them are. It's going to be our number 1 team. If you've been following along all season long, it's been hard to knock them out of that number 1 spot. Pretty much everything after it has changed, so we're going to start now with our bottom teams. And our top 20 team, our number 20 team is Old Bridge. Now, they suffered a 2-1 loss to East Brunswick, but they came back and beat previously number 11 ranked Wall out in New Jersey 4-0. So they're going to drop in the poll 12 spots, but they're going to hang in there at the number 20 spot. Division, Class A squad out in Long Island. They're going to get underway on Thursday in their county tournament. Looks like they're going to move on and play for at least for a Long Island championship in Class A. Our number 18 team is St. Dom, and St. Dominic was cruising along. They were in, I think they got as high as a number 4 team in our poll, and things are just kind of falling apart a little bit for them of late, and losing twice to Chaminade, now twice to Kellenberg. So St. Dom's going to stick it on number 18th spot. I still like their chances moving forward, playing for a Catholic championship in Long Island. The number 17 team also is out in New Jersey, that being Milburn. Previously, another team dropping 12 spots from number 5 to 17. They were upset by 10th seeded Caldwell 4-3 in the quarterfinals of the Greater Newark tournament, so that explains their slide. And the number 16 team is Indian Hills at 16-2-1. Their only 2 losses this season are 1-run losses to Ramapo and Teaneck. So they were unranked. They move into the poll at number 16. Number 15 squad is that being MacArthur. Now MacArthur's at a very interesting point right now because their season could come down to today if they have to resume their quarterfinal matchup, the opening round game against East Meadow. They're tied 1-1 in the 12th. They're going to finish that game and then play the next round. They lose them both and they are done for the season. Number 14 team is our number 1 seed in Suffolk in Class AA, that being Sachem North, the 17-2 squad. They move up 5 spots in the poll. Number 13 is Fairfield Prep. They've rebounded after losing to West Haven earlier in the year. They beat them pretty soundly this week. Kevin Stone pitching about as well as anybody in really all of the state of Connecticut for Fairfield Prep. Our number 12 team, they fell out of the poll last week and they jump back up to the number 12 spot, that being Don Bosco. Interesting matchup. They're facing Bergen Catholic in the quarterfinals of the Bergen County tournament on Saturday. Don Bosco lost them twice, looking for a little revenge in that friendly rivalry that they have. And our number 11 team is Beacon, 16-2 Class A squad from Section 1. They are storming towards the postseason. Tony Romanelli, who's headed to Wake Forest, his 100th career hit last week for Beacon High School. So that being Beacon Division. If we had a Beacon Division, I'm not sure how the state brackets match up this year in New York, but if they ever played for a state championship game, that'd be pretty special to watch up in Binghamton, that being many, many games, many, many wins, and a couple weeks away. Now we go to our top 10 teams in our poll, and it's loaded with New Jersey, as it's kind of been the theme here the last couple weeks. Hunterdon Central, the first of those teams. Pat Clare pitching extremely well, 6-1 on the year for Hunterdon Central. Now we have a team that wasn't ranked last week, and now they are single digits, and that being Roxbury. They are on a roll. They moved up 10 spots in the New Jersey poll, which is not an easy thing to do. 16-game winning streak for Roxbury, highlighted with a win over West Morris. They're now in the Morris County Championship game on Wednesday night. Number 8 squad is Chaminade, still riding high after their 2 wins last week over St. Dom's, their rival. The number 7 squad is Ward Melville, 16-4 from Long Island. And our number 6 squad, Poly Prep, 19-3, surviving a scare from Berkeley Carroll this past week, looking for a 4th straight New York State Independent School Championship later in the year. Morgan Gray's back from a back injury. That is a huge boost for Poly Prep moving forward. Now our top 5 squads, St. Joe's Regional moving up 1 spot to 6th to number 5. 11 consecutive wins was snapped by Indian Hills, but still, they're just playing so well. They rebounded with a win, and it was his 600th win in Frank Salvano's storied career for St. Joseph Regional. Number 4 squad, this is one of the 2 teams that doesn't move this week, that being Ketchum, 16-1. A walk-off win. Tim Zenbauer coming through with a 2-run single in the 7th to knock off John Jace Fishkill. They're motoring into the Class AA playoffs in Section 1. St. Peter's Prep is our number 3 squad at 20-3. They actually drop a spot after losing into Union City in the opening round of the Hudson County tournament, so they drop only 1 spot. St. Peter's Prep, not much to worry about with that loss. Moving up and taking their spot at number 2 is Bergen Catholic. Not an easy matchup, as we talked about. They're taking on Don Bosco in the quarterfinals of the Bergen County tournament on Saturday. They're 17-2-1. And our number 1 squad, Seton Hall Prep at 21-2. They'll face Cedar Grove on Saturday in pursuit of their second straight Greater Newark Tournament title, that being Seton Hall Prep. So them and Ketchum are the only teams that don't move in this week's poll. Be sure to check back next week for the poll and next week for all of our shows. I want to thank the guys at the control room for what they did this week. A little short-handed, but nice job for them. Eddie, Dan, and Chris Karen for what they've done editing all of our video for today's show. I want to thank you for watching. Join us next week on Around the Diamond. I'm your host, Kevin Devaney Jr., and I'll see you next week.